There are places on Earth where reality behaves differently, where the laws of physics seem negotiable rather than absolute, where instruments detect phenomena that shouldn't exist according to everything we understand about the universe. Antarctica has always been one of those places. And on October 8, 2025, researchers at the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station conducted an experiment that tore open something they can't close. What emerged is forcing a complete evacuation of the continent. And nobody's telling you why. The project was called Deep Ice Resonance Experiment. Official purpose: studying subglacial lake ecosystems using advanced sonar and electromagnetic mapping. But that was cover. Declassified documents reveal the real objective was testing whether focused electromagnetic fields could create localized spacetime distortions. Theoretical physics pushed into practical application. They were attempting to open a microscopic wormhole for 0.3 seconds. Controlled, observable, safe. Except it wasn't microscopic, it wasn't brief, and it definitely wasn't safe. October 8th, 2:34 p.m. Antarctic time. The experiment activated. Massive electromagnetic coils buried 2 kilometers beneath the ice synchronized. Quantum field generators powered by the station's nuclear reactor reached maximum output. For a moment, instruments registered exactly what physicists predicted: space-time curvature, gravitational anomalies, a rupture in the fabric of reality measuring approximately 40 centimeters across. And then something went catastrophically wrong. The portal didn't close. Instead, it expanded. Within 90 seconds, the aperture measured 3 meters in diameter. Alarm screamed. Researchers initiated emergency shutdown protocols. But the phenomenon had achieved self-sustaining stability. It was drawing energy from somewhere else, somewhere beyond. The electromagnetic equipment was offline, yet the portal remained, fed by physics we don't understand from a source we can't identify. And through that impossible opening, something began to emerge. Michio Kaku was contacted within hours by panicked government officials demanding explanations. I've seen the transcript of that emergency call. His response was immediate and terrifying. He said if they'd truly opened a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge, a genuine wormhole connecting our spacetime to another location or dimension, then whatever exists on the other side now has access to Earth. And more critically, they have no way to predict what that other side contains. Parallel universe, distant galaxy, different timeline, different laws of physics entirely. Unknown. Initial descriptions from researchers who witnessed the emergence before evacuation orders came through are fragmentary but consistent. They describe geometric structures, not organisms, not spacecraft, structures, crystalline architectures that don't obey three-dimensional geometry. Shapes that hurt to look at because human visual processing can't properly interpret angles that exist in more than 3 dimensions, moving, or appearing to move, in ways that violate causality. Present in one location, then present in another without traversing the space between. The first structure emerged fully at 2:41 p.m., 7 minutes after portal formation. It measured approximately 8 meters tall, constantly shifting configuration as if rotating through dimensions human senses can't perceive. It didn't respond to communication attempts, didn't react to presence of researchers, just remained stationary, or what appeared stationary in 3-dimensional space, positioned 3 meters from the portal opening, waiting, observing, or processing information in ways we lack framework to comprehend. Then the second one emerged, then a third. By 3:15 p.m., 17 structures had manifested inside the research station, Personnel were evacuating to surface facilities. Communication became erratic. The last coherent transmission described the structures beginning to emit frequencies. Not sound, not electromagnetic radiation in conventional spectrum, something that affected matter directly. Objects within range began exhibiting quantum uncertainty at macroscopic scale, solid walls becoming translucent, equipment phasing between states, reality destabilizing. Michio Kaku explained this phenomenon in his consultation. He said, if these entities originate from a universe with different fundamental constants, different speed of light, different strength of atomic forces, different dimensionality, their mere presence could cause local reality corruption. Like introducing water into a world where only ice exists, the medium changes. Physics adjusts to accommodate the impossible. And in that adjustment zone, neither set of physical laws fully applies. Everything becomes probabilistic, unstable, dangerous. The evacuation order came at 4 p.m. All personnel at Amundsen-Scott Station directed to secondary facilities 15 kilometers away. Satellites detected unusual atmospheric activity above the station. Gravitational distortions. Light bending around an area that should be empty air. Something massive existing in space that shouldn't be there. By 6 p.m., the decision was made to evacuate the entire Antarctic continent. Every research station, every national facility. Thousands of scientists and support personnel given 12 hours to gather essentials and leave. International cooperation happened with unprecedented speed. Russian, American, Chinese, European stations all coordinating extraction. Transport aircraft from multiple nations converging on Antarctica. No territorial disputes, no bureaucratic delays. When governments that usually compete for Antarctic resources all agree immediate evacuation is necessary, you know the threat level is beyond anything publicly disclosed. They're terrified. And they're not telling civilian populations what's happening. Amateur satellite trackers noticed the military mobilization, cargo plane, tankers, equipment. That's not standard Antarctic logistics. Defense contractors analyzing publicly available satellite imagery identified deployment patterns consistent with containment operations. Not research support, not rescue missions, military containment, establishing perimeter around something they don't want spreading beyond Antarctica, which raises the horrifying question, can it spread? Are these structures confined to the portal location, or can they propagate outward? October 10th. 2 days after initial portal opening, seismic sensors across Antarctica registered synchronized vibrations, not earthquakes, rhythmic pulses emanating from the South Pole location at precise intervals, 3.7 seconds, perfect consistency, patterns suggesting communication or coordinated activity, and the frequency is increasing. What started as faint tremors barely detectable are becoming substantial enough to register on global seismic networks. Whatever's emerging is growing stronger or numbers are increasing. Michio Kaku went public with a carefully worded statement. He didn't mention portals or interdimensional entities directly, but he warned that experimental physics conducted without full understanding of consequences risks cascade failures in local space-time integrity. He called for immediate international cooperation on Antarctic anomalies and urged transparency. That statement, deliberately vague, told those with knowledge exactly what's happening, while not causing mass panic. But the panic is coming regardless because information is leaking. Researchers who evacuated are talking. Despite gag orders and classified briefings, people are terrified enough to break silence. Anonymous posts on encrypted forums describe what they witnessed. Entities that exist partially in our dimension and partially elsewhere. structures that build themselves from surrounding matter, converting ice and rock into crystalline forms through unknown processes. Temperature fluctuations that violate thermodynamics. Areas where time flows at different rates, physics breaking down in an expanding radius. The portal itself has grown. Satellite imagery, before the region was declared a no-fly zone and optical satellites were temporarily redirected, showed the anomaly expanding to approximately 40 meters diameter. That's from 3 meters to 40 meters in 72 hours. If growth continues at that rate, within 2 weeks it could measure hundreds of meters. Within a month, kilometers. A permanent interdimensional aperture large enough for what? What comes through a portal measured in kilometers? What needs that much space? Military assets are positioning. Naval vessels from multiple nations establishing cordon in Southern Ocean. Fighter aircraft deployed to bases in South America, Australia, New Zealand. Not for research support, for combat readiness. Official explanation is coordinated exercises. But you don't mobilize carrier groups and strategic bombers for exercises during Antarctic winter. You mobilize that firepower when you're preparing to fight something, or contain something, or destroy something if containment fails. Michio Kaku addressed the military response in a private consultation that leaked through intelligence channels. He warned that conventional weapons are likely useless against entities that don't fully exist in our dimensional space. How do you shoot something that exists partially in dimensions you can't access? How do you contain something that can move through higher dimensions, bypassing three-dimensional barriers? He said our military strategy is based on fighting threats that obey our physics. These don't. We're catastrophically unprepared. October 12th, 4 days after opening, commercial shipping received warnings to avoid Antarctic waters below 65 degrees south. Not suggestions. Mandatory exclusion zone backed by military enforcement. Any vessel entering the restricted area will be turned back by force. That's unprecedented. International waters declared off-limits by coordinated military action. The legal justification? Unspecified environmental hazard requiring emergency protocols. They're not even pretending the explanation makes sense, just enforcing compliance through threat. Airlines reported unusual electromagnetic interference affecting flights over southern portions of South America, South Africa, Australia. Navigation systems experiencing drift. Communication blackouts. Nothing catastrophic but consistent with expanding field effects. Atmospheric scientists detected ozone fluctuations, magnetosphere distortions. The Antarctic anomaly is affecting global systems, not just local phenomenon anymore. Whatever's happening at the South Pole is radiating influence across the entire southern hemisphere, and it's intensifying. Leaked footage appeared online October 13th. Shaky cell phone video from evacuating researcher shows the portal. Some massive luminous aperture suspended 3 meters above ice. And through it, visible in the brief clip before deletion, something impossible: structures, architecture, a landscape that doesn't match Earth or any conceivable planetary environment, geometric impossibilities extending into distance, and movement, things traversing that alien terrain heading toward the portal, coming here. The video was scrubbed within hours, but thousands downloaded it, analyzed it, enhanced it. Truth is spreading despite suppression efforts. Michio Kaku appeared on mainstream media, carefully navigating what he could disclose. He spoke about theoretical wormhole physics, the possibility of accessing parallel universes or distant regions of space-time. He emphasized that such phenomena, if achieved experimentally, would require extreme caution, because we'd be establishing contact with unknown environments potentially containing unknown entities or physics incompatible with our universe. He never said it happened. But everyone watching understood the implication. This isn't theoretical anymore. Religious leaders worldwide are responding. Some calling this a sign of apocalypse. Others suggesting humanity has opened gates that should remain closed. Theologians debating whether entities from other dimensions constitute demons, aliens, or something entirely outside theological framework. Emergency councils convened across multiple faith traditions, trying to provide guidance to billions of people who sense something profound is happening but lack official information. Fear fills the vacuum where transparency should exist. Scientific community is fractured. One faction demands immediate international effort to close the portal, suggesting nuclear options if necessary. Destroy the entire facility, collapse the ice shelf, bury the anomaly under gigatons of rock and ice. Another faction argues we have unprecedented opportunity to study genuine interdimensional phenomena and contact with alternate reality. That destroying it would be greatest mistake in scientific history. A third faction believes it's already too late, that whatever process has begun is irreversible, and we need to prepare for consequences rather than attempting prevention. The structures that emerged are doing something. Researchers monitoring from satellite before optical coverage was restricted observed patterns. The entities arranged themselves in geometric configurations, perfect circles, hexagonal grids, patterns that shift and reconfigure with apparent purpose. They're not random, they're organized, following some blueprint or protocol, building something, or preparing something. Each configuration change accompanied by those seismic pulses, like heartbeat of something massive gestating beneath Antarctic ice. October 14th, temperature anomalies. Antarctic regions near the portal are warming, not climate change warming. Rapid, localized thermal increase, ice melting in areas where it should be frozen solid. Heat source unknown, not geothermal, not atmospheric, emanating from the portal itself or the entities around it, as if they're terraforming, adjusting local environment to match their origin point, making Earth more compatible with whatever exists on the other side. That's not exploration, that's colonization preparation. Michio Kaku warned about this exact possibility. He said advanced civilizations encountering new universes through wormholes would need to establish beachheads, zones where their physics and biology can function. They'd gradually expand that compatible zone, transforming surrounding environment. It's not aggression, it's necessity. They can't survive in our physics unmodified any more than we could survive in theirs. But from our perspective, watching our reality being rewritten to accommodate incompatible existence, it's an invasion, an existential threat. Military strategists are modeling scenarios. Best case, the phenomenon remains confined to Antarctica, isolated continent, evacuated, monitored, contained. Worst case, the transformation spreads, expanding zone of altered physics propagating across southern hemisphere, reaching inhabited continents. What happens to cities, to people when local physics destabilizes, when quantum uncertainty affects macroscopic objects, when causality becomes optional? Casualties measured in millions or billions, civilization collapse, extinction-level event. The portal is emitting something now, not structures, not entities, something gaseous or energy-based. Atmospheric sensors detect molecular compounds that don't exist in terrestrial chemistry, elements with atomic structures that shouldn't be stable under our universal constants. Exotic matter. Substances that exist only in theoretical physics papers are manifesting in Earth's atmosphere. Concentrations are low currently, but they're increasing. And nobody knows what happens when exotic matter concentrations reach critical levels. Michio Kaku explained exotic matter could fundamentally alter local physical laws. Negative mass, negative energy density, properties that enable wormhole stability but also destroy conventional matter on contact. If concentrations increase sufficiently, Antarctic ice could begin exhibiting impossible behaviors. Falling upward, existing in superposition, entire landscape could become quantum foam, matter losing definite state, reality itself dissolving, and that dissolution could spread like contagion, consuming normal matter, expanding the zone of altered physics exponentially. October 15th. This morning, multiple independent sources confirm Antarctica evacuation is complete. Every human has left the continent for first time since continuous habitation began decades ago. Antarctica is empty, except for whatever emerged from the portal, and the automated monitoring equipment left behind to track what happens next. Cameras, seismic sensors, atmospheric samplers, all feeding data to control centers in Australia, South America, South Africa. Scientists watching remotely as something unprecedented unfolds on humanity's doorstep. The equipment is failing, not mechanical failure, reality failure. Cameras showing overlapping images as if multiple timelines are visible simultaneously. Seismic sensors detecting vibrations from events that haven't happened yet. Causality breaking down. Time becoming non-linear in the affected zone. This is beyond physics. This is mathematics of reality itself being rewritten by presence of entities from environment with different fundamental rules. Our instruments can't measure it because measurement itself requires stable physics. Satellite constellations are being repositioned. Orbital assets from multiple nations redirecting to maintain constant surveillance of Antarctic region, not standard observation satellites, military reconnaissance platforms, early warning systems, usually pointed at adversary nations, now focused on the South Pole, watching for any sign the phenomenon is expanding beyond containment projections, watching for whatever comes through that portal next. Because 17 structures emerged in the first 6 hours. What emerges in 6 days? 6 weeks? Michio Kaku met with International Coalition yesterday, Emergency Scientific Advisory Board formed from top physicists across all nations. Political differences set aside, everyone recognizes this transcends human conflicts. If the portal isn't closed or stabilized, if entity emergence continues, terrestrial politics become irrelevant. United response is developing. Shared data, coordinated research, joint military contingency planning, humanity briefly unified by shared existential threat. But unified around what strategy? Nobody knows how to fight or negotiate with interdimensional entities. Theoretical solutions are desperate. Suggestions include generating counterfield to collapse the portal, but we don't understand what's sustaining it. So counterfield design is guesswork. Kinetic bombardment to destroy the facility and bury portal under ice. But if the portal is space-time rupture, physical destruction might not affect it. Nuclear options. Multiple proposals for atomic weapons to generate sufficient energy disruption. But nuclear detonation near active wormhole could exponentially worsen situation, expand the portal, create additional ruptures, turn contained crisis into global catastrophe. Private aerospace companies are involved. SpaceX, Blue Origin, others offering resources for emergency response, not publicized. But equipment is being mobilized, heavy lift vehicles, orbital platforms. Some analysts suggest they're preparing evacuation infrastructure. If Antarctic situation deteriorates beyond containment, if transformed zone begins expanding toward inhabited regions, millions will need emergency relocation. Space-based refuge might be humanity's last resort. Colonies on Moon or Mars established not for exploration, but survival. Abandoning Earth to entities we accidentally invited. Michio Kaku addressed this possibility. He said, if Earth becomes uninhabitable due to physics transformation, humanity has perhaps decades of technological runway before we could establish self-sustaining off-world colonies. Maybe less. If the Antarctic phenomenon spreads faster than our evacuation capability develops, extinction becomes statistical probability. This is the great filter concept made real. Civilizations destroy themselves not through war or environmental collapse, but by achieving physics knowledge before wisdom to apply it safely. We opened a door we can't close to a room we can't survive. Communication attempts continue. Researchers broadcasting signals toward the portal on every wavelength, mathematical sequences, prime numbers, attempts to establish dialogue with whatever intelligence might be coordinating the entities. No response. Either they don't recognize our signals as communication, or they do and are ignoring us. Both scenarios are terrifying. If they can't recognize intelligence attempting contact, we're beneath their notice. If they can and choose to ignore us, we're irrelevant. Either way, our existence doesn't factor into their plans. The structures are multiplying. Latest count before monitoring equipment completely failed. 247 distinct entities within a 5-kilometer radius of the portal. Exponential growth. If that acceleration continues, within a week, thousands. Within 2 weeks, tens of thousands. At some point, their sheer number and collective transformation effect will expand the altered zone beyond Antarctica, reaching ocean, reaching atmosphere, reaching continents, reaching you. And there's no indication they'll stop. They're not invading, they're metastasizing. Like cancer in reality itself. Michio Kaku's most recent statement was released 2 hours ago. He said, quote, "Humanity has achieved a level of scientific knowledge allowing us to manipulate fundamental forces of universe. But knowledge without wisdom is catastrophe." We opened a gateway without understanding what we were opening or where it leads. What emerges may be natural phenomenon from another universe, or it may be intelligence as far beyond us as we are beyond bacteria. We are children who found a loaded weapon and pulled the trigger. Now we face consequences of our arrogance. Unquote. That's not scientific caution, that's eulogy. Social media is erupting despite information suppression. Hashtag Antarctica portal trending globally. Millions demanding transparency. Governments still issuing denials. Volcanic activity. Research equipment malfunction. Standard evacuation procedures. Nobody believes official statements. Too many researchers have leaked information. Too much satellite imagery escaped before blackout. Too many military deployments visible to civilian observers. The truth is obvious even without confirmation. Something catastrophic is happening. And we're being lied to about our own survival prospects. Emergency supply hoarding has begun. Southern Hemisphere countries experiencing panic buying. Food, water, fuel. People preparing for undefined disaster. Governments urging calm while simultaneously activating emergency protocols. That contradiction tells citizens everything they need to know. When authorities say don't panic while mobilizing military and restricting information, rational response is panic. Society teetering on edge of breakdown before the actual threat even reaches inhabited areas. Fear might destroy us before the portal entities do. Religious gatherings are surging. Churches, mosques, temples, synagogues reporting capacity crowds. People seeking spiritual comfort in face of existential uncertainty. Some religious leaders proclaiming end times, others emphasizing faith and resilience, but underlying all religious response is the same question. If entities from another dimension emerge into our reality, what does that mean for theological understanding of creation, God, the nature of existence itself? Every faith tradition being stress-tested by phenomena that challenge fundamental assumptions about reality. Scientific instruments globally are detecting anomalies, not just Antarctic region, worldwide. Subtle physics fluctuations, gravitational irregularities, quantum measurements deviating from predicted values by fractions of a percent, as if the presence of exotic matter and altered physics in one location is creating ripple effects across entire planet, like introducing incompatible operating system into global network. The inconsistency propagates, errors cascade, eventually systemic failure, reality itself crashing because two incompatible versions of physics are trying to occupy the same universe. Michio Kaku warned this could be the ultimate answer to the Fermi paradox. Where are all the alien civilizations? Why haven't we detected them despite billions of potentially habitable planets? Maybe they all reach our level of technological development. Achieve wormhole technology, open portals to other universes or dimensions, and whatever exists on the other side ends their civilization. Not through aggression, through incompatibility. Every species that achieves this knowledge opens doors that destroy them. We're not alone in making this mistake. We're just the latest. The economic impact is beginning. Markets volatile, southern hemisphere currencies declining, airlines canceling flights to entire regions, insurance companies refusing policies for Antarctic-adjacent countries, port cities experiencing population exodus, property values plummeting as people move inland and northward, economic systems responding to existential threat faster than governments can manage. Capitalism inadvertently creating evacuation infrastructure through market forces. Those with resources relocating proactively, those without trapped in threatened zones, hoping containment holds. Military forces are digging in. Defensive positions established across southern coastlines of multiple continents. Thousands of kilometers of fortification. Against what? Entities that exist partially outside conventional space that can potentially move through higher dimensions. You can't build walls against beings that don't respect three-dimensional boundaries. But military minds default to preparing for invasion as they understand invasion. Physical fronts, defensible positions, conventional warfare. Even as scientists tell them conventional warfare is useless against this threat, Michio Kaku has proposed one desperate strategy. If the portal was created by electromagnetic fields generating space-time curvature, perhaps sufficient counterfield could destabilize it. Not close it, that might be impossible, but destabilize it enough that entity transfer becomes difficult or ceases. He's calling for global energy grid coordination. Every power plant, every generator, every available energy source focused through coordinated electromagnetic array. Planet-scale field generation. Never attempted. Possibly impossible. Definitely dangerous. But facing existential threat, desperate measures become rational options. The logistics are staggering, coordinating power infrastructure across hundreds of nations, building massive electromagnetic coils, positioning them to create focused field directed at Antarctic portal, timeline measured in weeks minimum, possibly months. Meanwhile, entities continue emerging. Zone continues expanding. We're in race between engineering solution and cascading catastrophe. And we started late. We didn't begin preparing until days after the crisis began. Every day of political delay, of bureaucratic inertia, of institutional skepticism reduced our survival probability. October 15th, 9 a.m. Reports coming through encrypted channels. The entities are moving, no longer stationary around portal, spreading across Antarctic interior. Direction of movement radial, outward, toward coastlines, toward ocean. If they reach water, if oceanic currents carry exotic matter and physics corruption globally, containment becomes impossible. The transformation goes worldwide simultaneously. Every coastline, every continent, nowhere safe, nowhere unaffected. That's the nightmare scenario, and it's happening right now. And most of humanity doesn't know because governments decided panic was worse than preparation. Michio Kaku's final statement this morning: we are watching the beginning of Earth's transformation into something fundamentally different. Whether that transformation is survivable for humanity remains unknown. What is certain is that the world we knew ended on October 8th. What emerges from this crisis will be new Earth with new physics, or no Earth at all. Pray for wisdom, prepare for anything, and understand that our species' next chapter will be written by how we respond to having opened a door we cannot close to visitors we cannot comprehend. So here's what you need to do. Stay informed through independent channels. Official sources are compromised by political concerns. Prepare emergency supplies, not paranoia. Rational response to confirmed crisis. Southern Hemisphere residents should consider relocation if possible. Northern regions may have additional weeks or months before effects reach that far. And demand transparency. Governments keeping secrets during existential crisis is moral failure. We deserve truth about our own survival prospects. Share information. Build community resilience. Because whatever comes next, we face it together or not at all. Antarctica is lost. That's the reality. The continent is transforming into something other, something alien. The question now is whether transformation stops there or consumes the planet. Whether containment holds or fails. Whether humanity survives as biological species in recognizable physical reality or becomes extinct, or worse, transformed into something compatible with the new physics, changed, altered, no longer human in any meaningful sense. October 8, 2025. Scientists opened a portal in Antarctica. What came through is rewriting reality itself. Governments are evacuating. Military forces are mobilizing, and nobody's telling you the truth until now. This is the most important information you'll receive. Share it, prepare for it, survive it, if survival is even possible. The age of stable reality ended 6 days ago. What comes next is unknown, unprecedented, and absolutely terrifying.